Welcome, vintage Star Wars collectors. In this episode, we're diving into some creative playsets from a galaxy far, far away. We'll take a closer look at the 1978 Play-Doh Star Wars playset and the 1983 Presto Magix transfer sets, perfect for fueling young imaginations back in the day. First, we'll explore the Play-Doh set, where you could mold your favorite Star Wars characters and ships from nothing but dough. Then we'll move on to the Presto Magix transfer sets, which feature classic Return of the Jedi scenes where you could create your own galactic battles with simple transfers. But that's not all. We've got a mix of both opened and unopened sets. This means we'll get hands-on with some vintage pieces, while also taking a closer look at the collectible value of items that have never been touched since the 80s. Whether you're here for the nostalgia or curious about the creative magic these sets offered, there is a little something for everyone. So let's jump right into it with the Play-Doh Star Wars action set from 1978. This set let kids bring their favorite Star Wars moments to life using nothing more than Play-Doh and their imagination. We'll take a closer look at all the pieces inside and see how it captured the creative spirit of the galaxy far, far away. First up, let's talk about the box. It's in incredibly collectible shape, which is something that can be hard to find for a Play-Doh set that dates back to 1978. The colors are still vivid, and there's no major damage. There are no rips or tears. However, like most vintage items, it does show a little shelf wear, with some fraying and hole formation at the corners. But honestly, for a piece that's over 40 years old, this is in fantastic condition and would be a gem for any collector. Even the open side of the box still has the original reclosing tabs fully intact and unripped, which is unusual for a set this old. Now let's take a look at what's inside. We've got a variety of molds, each offering its own unique Star Wars character. We have an X-Wing fighter, some Play-Doh canisters, and a few items hiding beneath that complete the set and take us back to 1978. The molds in this set offer us 4 characters from Star Wars: A New Hope. Notably, we get a nicely detailed front and back mold of Luke Skywalker, complete with a lightsaber attached to his belt and a separate blaster. Next, we have a double mold featuring a nicely detailed front and back of Princess Leia, along with another mold of R2-D2. And for our final mold, we have none other than Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith. Once again, we get a nicely detailed front and back sculpt, complete with a lightsaber hilt. Interestingly, the shape of this secondary piece could also double as a blaster if needed. Next up, we have the X-Wing fighter, or perhaps more accurately, Play-Doh's approximation of an X-Wing fighter. It's a nice little piece that pairs well with the character molds, allowing for plenty of creative battles and excitement. And to fuel that excitement, we have the play mat. This mat serves a dual purpose. It provides scenes and backgrounds to inspire imaginative play while also acting as a surface to help keep messes under control. Also included in this set is the essential plastic knife, perfect for cutting shapes and trimming excess dough from the edges of any pressed molds. And finally, the star of the show, Play-Doh. This set comes with 3 original colors: red, blue, and yellow. To top it off, these are the original 1978 Play-Doh canisters, complete with the dough still inside. A quick look at the back of the cans clearly shows the Kenner licensing and the year of production. I know many of you are curious to see what 45-year-old Play-Doh looks like, so let's take a peek inside the cans. And there you have it, crumbled and solid as a rock. The blue, red, and yellow Play-Doh have all solidified beyond use, but surprisingly, they've still managed to maintain their original color quite well. All of that said, I do have access to modern-day Play-Doh, and what kind of video would this be if we didn't at least demonstrate some of the molds and shapes? So, without getting too crazy, let's dive in, create some molds, and see how it all works. Now, while I'm showing you how these molds work, let me tell you how this set came to be part of my collection. When I was younger, I remember seeing these Play-Doh sets in stores and really wanting one. For whatever reason, my parents didn't seem all that interested in picking one up for me. Maybe they thought I was too old for it. Or maybe they were just trying to avoid the inevitable mess that comes with Play-Doh. Either way, my parents never ended up buying one for me. It was a classic playground trade that brought this set into my hands. My friend didn't want his parents finding out because they just bought it for him, so we made a deal on the down low. I don't remember exactly what I traded him for it. It could have been a water rocket, a Stretch Armstrong, or maybe even one of the only two 12-inch Star Wars figures I ever owned, Darth Vader and Chewbacca, both of which I also got through trades. Whatever it was, he was eager to make the swap, and I brought the Play-Doh set home. Funny thing is, I didn't really play with it much after that. It ended up sitting on a shelf in my closet, kind of forgotten. But fast forward to now, and here it is, still in my collection all these years later. And who would have thought I'd be showing it off to fellow collectors like you, still intact after all this time? It's funny how these pieces of childhood come back to life even decades later. As I press this Play-Doh into the molds, I can appreciate just how much creative fun these sets must have brought to so many. And now, we get to experience a little of that ourselves. Ah, yes, the fun of trimming those edges with the little plastic knife. While it may be a simple tool, it got me thinking about using an X-Acto knife and layering different colors of modern-day Play-Doh, especially with all the variants available today. I even considered trying to recreate the characters as screen-accurate as possible. But then I remembered, the real magic of these videos is experiencing these collectibles as they were back in the day. That's the heart of the nostalgia. After all, it's not about perfection. It's about reliving those simple moments of fun, just like many of us did back then. Just a few finishing touches here and there, some final adjustments, and it looks like we've completed all the molds. And here they are. Now that we've had a chance to relive a little of that creativity, let's take a final look at this classic set as a whole. From the colorful canisters to the detailed character molds, it's clear that Play-Doh really tapped into the imagination of Star Wars fans, young and old. Before we wrap and move on, I want to share how I'm planning to store this playset for safekeeping and preservation. For the plastic mat and knife, I've placed them in a comic book protector with an acid-free cardboard backing. As for the other pieces, I read somewhere that it's best to prevent as many items as possible from directly touching the cardboard. To address this, I've used gift wrapping tissue as a buffer to hold everything securely. Finally, the entire box will be covered in plastic and stored in a protective plastic storage bin. With the playset safely stored away, it's time to shift gears and dive into another nostalgic gem from 1983, the return of the Jedi Presto Magix transfer sets. These kits offered a fun and creative way for fans to bring Star Wars scenes to life, this time through the magic of rub-on transfers. Just like with the Play-Doh set, they sparked imagination and excitement, only now with a focus on creating iconic scenes from the saga. Now moving on to something a little more elaborate, the large Presto Magix transfer sets. I suppose you could even call these the deluxe versions. Unlike the smaller sets you'd typically find on toy store end caps, these larger boxes had a more premium feel, almost like they belonged in the art supplies section of the store, appealing to those who wanted to craft more intricate scenes from Star Wars. With bigger backgrounds and more characters to work with, these sets were a step up in terms of creativity, scope, and cost. This particular Presto Magix Deluxe transfer set is all original from 1983 and, as you can see, remains completely unopened. Since it's still sealed, I won't be demonstrating the transfers today. Keeping it preserved after all this time is certainly the right move for such a nostalgic piece. But what we can do is take a closer look at the box art, which really captures the excitement of these sets. Even just the packaging itself feels like a window into the era, full of action and vivid scenes straight from the galaxy far, far away. If I may digress for a second, I remember exactly when I got this particular set. My mother purchased it for me along with another deluxe transfer set, Jabba's Throne Room. While I kept this Endor set sealed, I opened the Jabba set and used its transfers, ultimately trying to preserve it in my collection even though it was no longer mint. I still remember sitting at the kitchen table, spending a couple of hours crafting my own throne room scene. That said, I haven't come across the Jabba set while going through my collection, and I didn't see it back in 1999 when I first sorted through about a third of my vintage Star Wars items. If I do find it during this journey, I'll definitely make a video about the discovery, though I have to admit, the chances feel slim. As careful as I've been to preserve everything, some things inevitably disappear, whether it's misplaced or vanished like a missing laundry sock. There's always a bit of attrition over the years. even for the most treasured items. Now, back to the box for this Endor set. The artwork features a vibrant cartoon graphic depicting the Endor bunker scene from Return of the Jedi. In the foreground, we see a biker scout poised for action, surrounded by towering forest trees and the iconic bunker itself. This dynamic illustration sets the stage for imaginative play, inviting our heroes to engage in unique confrontations. One notable feature of these deluxe Presto Magix sets is the inclusion of the Presto Magix stick. Essentially, this is just a plastic pencil without writing capability, designed specifically for rubbing the image stickers onto the scene. In contrast, the smaller individual scenes do not come with this tool. Instead, they instruct users to use a regular pencil. This method works just as well, if not better, effectively transferring images onto the page without leaving any marks on the finished scene itself, and only on the transfer paper. Now that we've explored the deluxe set and its unique features, let's turn our attention to the regular Presto Magix transfer sets, which were cheaper and more ubiquitous than the deluxe versions. These sets offer their own exciting opportunities for creativity. While I won't be opening them for this video, as these transfers have been out of print for a long time, we can still take a quick look at each scene and see what they have to offer. First up, we have two sets depicting the iconic Jabba the Hutt throne room. This setting is integral to the Return of the Jedi storyline, where our heroes face off against Jabba and his nefarious crew. Each set allows fans to recreate this thrilling confrontation while engaging their imaginations. Next, we have two sets featuring the Sarlacc Pit. This thrilling scene is packed with action and suspense, offering endless possibilities for creative storytelling. Fans can recreate the daring escape from the jaws of the Sarlacc. Moving on, we have the Ewok village scene. This playful setting captures the spirit of adventure and camaraderie that the Ewoks represent. It's a perfect opportunity for young imaginations to bring the forest moon of Endor to life. Finally, we have the Death Star set. As one of the most iconic locations in the Star Wars saga, this set allows fans to recreate key moments from the epic battle against the Empire. The possibilities for imagination here are limitless. While these mini-sets might not have the same scope and size of the deluxe sets, they still capture the essence of Return of the Jedi and offer a delightful opportunity for fans of all ages to engage in creative play. Before we wrap this video up, I'd like to share how I plan to store and preserve these items for safekeeping. Now, as with the Play-Doh set, I take great care in preserving these treasures. The entire Play-Doh box is wrapped in a resealable plastic sleeve to keep it safe from the elements. For the deluxe Presto Magix set, although it's already encased in the original manufacturer's plastic, I've added an extra layer of protection using a Ziploc-style bag I had saved from other unrelated product packaging, which happens to fit perfectly over the box. And for the regular Presto Magix sets, each one is neatly placed in a comic book bag with an acid-free cardboard backer, keeping them flat and safe from wear. After which, all of these items will go into a larger plastic storage bin for long-term preservation. As we've seen today, each of these collectibles holds a special piece of Star Wars history, and taking the time to preserve them ensures that future fans can continue to enjoy their legacy. From the creative possibilities of the Presto Magix sets to the nostalgic charm of the Play-Doh molds, these items remind us of the joy and imagination that Star Wars has inspired for decades. I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as I have. Until next time, may the Force be with you.